I guess call the order for this work session. Do we need roll call vote?
Councilmember Osborne? Here. Councilmember Cavalier?
Here.
Councilmember Sousa?
Here.
Councilmember Loretano? Here. Vice Mayor Pizzillo?
Here.
All council present.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think those are on.
They're on now. Okay, we're going to go ahead and, I guess, Jerry, you're going to give us a presentation on the changes in potential sanitation services, right?
That is correct. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to provide proposed revisions to the City Code, Article 10, otherwise known as the Sanitation Code. For tonight, staff will present proposed improvements to the City Code, Article 10, related to sanitation service in the following three major areas: administration, procedural updates and changes, operational, service improvements, code compliance changes. The proposed changes are from a coordinated effort between code compliance, police department, finance, legal, and public works. These proposed changes do not request any increased fees, reduction in service level, or changes in the current program. I'd like to start with a little historical background. In January of 2005, a solid waste advisory committee was appointed by council to provide recommendations on the solid waste program. The committee consisted of 7 citizens who made recommendations to council on September 19, 2005, after holding 15 meetings, 4 public forums, and conducting public surveys. The city incorporated the committee's recommendations in ordinance modifications and rate structure, which were adopted in July of 2006. Prior to the ordinance revisions and the rates being established, a solid waste collection service contract was prepared and advertised for public bid. The successful candidate was to provide all containers, mechanized curbside collection for refuse, recyclables on a weekly basis. The contract was for a 10-year period to receive the best pricing and cost recovery for the containers. In 2010, city staff worked with Waste Management to extend the contract for 3 years to secure lower rates. The cost savings were used to fund other city projects, including Household Hazardous Waste Program, Christmas tree recycling, public outreach, and educational programs. Under the administrative and procedural changes, staff is proposing the following. New sanitation accounts may require a refundable deposit. This currently is not part of the city code. Staff is proposing language which allows for a refundable deposit which may be used on new sanitation accounts. This addition would be consistent with the deposits for sewer and water service. Creation of a special request bulk pickup service would be for any resident who may wish to have collection of bulk waste at a time outside their normal service for twice-a-month pickup. The fee would be the same as currently exists for our excessive bulk pickup. Staff also proposes ordinance language to allow rate structures to be established for the actual cost of services provided. This would allow for the setting of rates based on the true cost of service as established by City Council resolution. Another change is to the clarification of the lien process. A lien process currently does exist in our ordinance. However, it's not consistent with current state statute. Under the business registration section, the proposed language change is tied specifically to waste haulers working in the city and is consistent with the existing city code for business registration found in section 8-7-2.
Quick question.
Yes.
We don't have currently deposits in the sanitation. We do not require deposits currently in the sanitation. That's correct?
That's correct.
Why do we need them now? Is there an issue that's cropping up?
There's probably going to be a couple of concerns. One is that we require deposits on some accounts that have full utility service for water, sewer, and sanitation. Mm-hmm. There's a new House bill that just passed, HB 2450, I believe, which requires that we cannot collect from anybody but the customer who signs up for service, where the lien process and other collection activities have always gone against the property owner. So if we have accounts which are, for example, rental properties,
okay,
it may be required to collect the deposit.
So if I understand you correctly, if we have rental properties, since we can't lien the owner of the property and you don't have a deposit, then you're going to be out any money that falls behind on the sanitation,
That is correct.
on trash pick, okay.
One quick question. If I recall, I had a citizen in Mobile was upset because she had made a deposit for, it was sanitation pickup, and I think it was $50, and she would not be refunded that. And I'm assuming maybe it was for the receptacles, but if they were picked up, I don't know why she wouldn't have gotten her money back then.
The only fee that we currently charge is a $50 account activation fee, and I believe that is what she was referring to, because there are no deposits required on sanitation.
So it's a $50 activation.
That's for the cost of actually the administrative costs associated with setting up the account and to begin the billing process.
I think she probably was referring to that as a deposit.
I believe that is correct.
I have a question. Don't know if this is on. When they were to put the deposit down, would this be something if they had so many months or years of good service, would they get the deposit back, or would that just remain as a deposit until such a time as they closed out their account?
It could be used for either. Typically, the water ordinance, I know fairly well. After 12 months, they can request the deposit back in writing. However, a lot of people will leave the deposit out there, and then when they close their bill, it will be used to close out their existing expenses, and then they get refunded the difference.
So you don't have the amounts yet, what the deposits will be?
That has not been determined, no.
I assume when that is, you bring it back before us?
Yes, once we determine any fees or rates, that will be brought back as a resolution. Operational changes, improvements to service. Number one is the definition of multifamily container, and this needs to be changed to be consistent with House Bill 2604. House Bill 2604, in essence, allows large multifamily units to be treated as a commercial business and to bid their solid waste program out. During the proposed ordinance changes, staff met with Capital Consulting, who's a local member of the Arizona Multi-Housing Association, and they are very supportive of the staff recommendation. The proposed suspension of service language is very specific. It would allow for unique circumstances in order to apply for a suspension of service. This would be for circumstances such as military deployment, severe medical conditions for people who winter in Goodyear but reside somewhere else and cannot come down due to catastrophic illness. The program would be for up to 6 months with a renewal period. It would require an application be submitted to the Director of Public Works, and the property must be vacant the entire time. On the bulk collection language, under the current ordinance, items must be out for bulk collection at 6 p.m. the night before, but no later than 6 a.m. the morning of the service. This language was based under the once-per-week collection or the scheduled collection program. As you're aware, with the twice-per-month program, we need a little bit more flexibility for the residents. Under the certification program, there was a requirement that all trucks doing business, all waste hauling trucks doing business in the City of Goodyear, must be certified by City of Goodyear staff. There were several issues with this. First of all, we had no time nor qualified staff to do the certification. And second, there were concerns over the liability to the city of enforcing this.
Joanne, the second bullet is the one that you'll recall Mr. Maynard had written to us previously about the fact that he couldn't come back to town. And we had no way to relieve him of that obligation.
The next section is compliance and code changes. Currently under the code compliance, police and code compliance are the only individuals who can enforce city code. We're proposing the sanitation inspector would be added for code enforcement as well. The sanitation inspector would be required to take all classes, testing, and certification to be qualified as a code compliance official. Scavenging language, we're proposing that it be added to deter scavengers from taking items from contained refuse, recycling, and bulk piles, which causes debris and litter to be scattered throughout the neighborhood.
Is that an issue? Are we having an issue with that right now?
Yes, the police department specifically requested this. I think there's a lot of issues with basically littering of neighborhoods due to scavenging.
Only reason why I ask is I've never seen it in mine, so that's why I was wondering with some of the others going on. Okay.
We've actually had people not only go through people's bulk trash, they've also gone through containers specifically for the recyclables to collect the aluminum cans, because they do have some value.
Yes.
I guess
Stop
my-
daily at the dumpsters.
I guess I have a question. How are we going to enforce that? Because I've come home late a couple times and I've seen people driving in our neighborhood, and you can tell that's what they're doing because they've got the trailer and stuff. How would we enforce that? Just if the police come above them or you see them, just report it? Or
Yes, it would have to be reported to the police department or a code official, and we would have to catch them in the act.
Now, if a person sets out something like a refrigerator, it's still a good refrigerator, and says it's free, please take, can they do that now?
Yes, that would be completely different than going through a bulk pile.
Okay.
The spillage language, I'm sorry. go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. No.
The spillage language and definition is specific to waste haulers and would allow compensation to the city for damages which may occur, such as cleanup of waste spilled in the streets or repairs to the streets caused by damages from the spills themselves. If there's a highly corrosive chemical that could damage the asphalt, we'd want to be compensated for that. Illegal dumping. Unfortunately, this is becoming more of an issue with the economy and the houses that are being left vacant. So we have changed or proposed to change this to a misdemeanor, and in this economy it is becoming a bit of a nuisance. We would like to continue to keep Goodyear in a clean and attractive place for people to live and work. In summary, the proposed changes were coordinated with the following departments: Code Compliance, Police Department, Finance, Legal, and Public Works. These changes will provide for administrative procedural cleanup, operational consistency, improved service, process changes to better meet community needs, compliance and consistency with state law. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
I have to go back to that deposit issue. We've not had deposits in the past. We've had activation fees, $50. Now that's for sanitation. Is there any for water? Activation fee or the like?
If you have all three accounts, you pay one activation fee of $50. We do have some areas, especially north of I-10, which are sanitation only. They would pay a one-time $50 activation fee. We have sewer-only accounts, or excuse me, sewer and sanitation-only accounts, which also would pay a $50 one-time account fee.
So how's that any different than what a deposit would be?
That's actually to do the paperwork. It's for covering of the administrative costs to set up the account.
Non-refundable.
Right,
It's
it's
not
non-refundable. So what's the deposit
refundable.
for? But what's it for?
The deposit would be for those individuals who maybe had a less than stellar credit record and may have had a history with the city of not paying their past bills. Under the new law, HB 2450, we would not be able to refuse them service if they move to a new place.
So there will be criteria as to whether or not you have to pay the deposit because of those reasons? I mean, there will be people that, you know, their credit score or whatever will say you don't have to pay a deposit, so is there going to be that?
We are currently having internal dialogue with our finance department, our legal department, our intergov, because there is a meeting coming up with the state legislators about how to best address this. It appears that right now their proposed best way is to do deposits.
I've got a question on your first statement you said on the sanitation rate and the monies, that the surplus monies were used for two other uses at this point, and that's for, what was it? One for our once a year, what is it?
We did 2 household hazardous waste events in 2010.
Right.
That's what
Okay,
the
that's what
majority of the
you-
money went to.
Okay, just that one, but you did 2 of them.
And
a year.
Christmas trees, wasn't that?
And Christmas trees.
Correct. We also
There were
do
2.
Christmas tree
Now, is
recycling.
that enough to do that, or is there a surplus after that, or is that pretty much levels that? Does that even that out?
There was enough this year to cover the expenses of all those programs, so we were able to actually cover the total expense of all those
There
programs
was
I
no
mentioned.
surplus beyond that.
There may have been a little bit of surplus. We don't have the final bill and numbers in from the last household hazardous waste conducted in October.
Okay,
So I
thank you.
can't really say with certainty.
All right, good.
Sherry?
Fine.
Dick? Just real quick, it's my understanding with the Senate, the House bill, or was it the Senate bill or House
The
bill?
House.
Bill. The problem's going to be rentals, right? Because you can still lien property if your customer is the owner of the home. Is that correct?
That's correct. I would actually have to defer to legal on the specifics on liens, but that's my understanding.
So the problem comes into play because you can't refuse services when they happen to be renters, because you can't lien the property because you got to lien the one who opened the service. So that's the main reason for the deposit. So you have some way of collecting the money because you have no legal means of collecting it if they move to another location. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Yeah, yes. I think in the past what the issue's been, as Jerry stated, is when you had a renter come in and open the account, get behind on the account, then move, then you had the property owner want to come in and reactivate the account on that address. And I think many times in the past, many communities made the property owner make city whole for the past 2 utility accounts. The new law, the new legislation says unless you're on the account, you can't hold the property owner liable for the utility billing.
So a lot of these changes are directly the result of the change in the law.
Yeah, the deposit's a good way to remedy that situation.
Anything else? Thanks, Jerry.
Great, thank you.
This time, we've got information, council members report on current events. Joanne?
Oh, well, I didn't bring my book down
Oh,
here.
okay. Well, we're
I
gonna
have
have
plenty.
We're gonna have another shot at it at the regular meeting. Frank,
Yeah, no, that's all right.
No, wait.
we're gonna wait.
Yeah, wait.
We got some
I'll just wait till the
wait. All right, quick one. Do you want to take it's 5:45. You want to take a quick 5 break before we start, or do we have to start at
Have to
6?
wait till 6.
We've got to wait till 6. Okay, adjourn.